Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I realized something just today and I'm a little bit embarrassed if I'm being honest with you. I have not done a wrap-up since March. So that means April, May, June, July, and August. 5 months worth of reading is all going to be on this wrap-up. We're gonna try and do kind of more of a speed round, and editing me is going to just love myself so much because she gets to put all the pictures up here. I'm not grabbing all the books. And a lot of them I've unhauled because when I don't like a book, I unhaul it, generally speaking. So I went back and I thought I had it all set up. I think we are starting on My Bestie's Ex by Piper Rain. But oh my gosh. And April was my 30 books in 30 days challenge. So you know what? I'm going to skip April too because I did the 30 books in 30 days challenge. So I'll link it up here or over here, whichever side it's on. If you want to go see what I read in April and if I succeeded in that challenge or not, go check it out and then come watch this. So this will be May, June, July, and August. That's still 4 months. Okay, so I went and checked. April was the 30 books in 30 days challenge. Since there's a vlog of all the books I read that month, I will link that video here or here. Go check that out. We will start with May. May, I kind of hit a slump because I attempted the 30 books in 30 days challenge, and reading 30 books in 30 days is a lot. So I didn't finish my first book until May 7th, and then in May I had kind of a slump. June I got back on track, and then the end of June my Baga passed away, so July was not the best reading month. I was supposed to do a bunch of stuff in August for Veda, which I clearly gave up on. I just didn't have the time and it wasn't planned how I wanted it to be, but next year will be my year. And then August, I've been reading stuff, but spoiler, I haven't been sticking to my TBR. No one at all is surprised. Anyway, let's go into this. So there's The Lookalike by Erica Spindler. I hated this book. I give it 1 star. I don't like books that use mental health as an out or like play with mental health as a reason for things in thrillers specifically. Like, I don't think you should use... It just seems like a poor plot twist. Sorry, I guess mild spoilers. Then I read The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This was a buddy read with Amy from A Star Reads. And I really enjoyed this one. But then after kind of talking about it with Amy and kind of thinking about it a little bit, there were some things that didn't quite add up or make a ton of sense. I still had so much fun with it, so I still gave it 4 stars. Then I finished A Pile of Shame book, which is If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. I kind of wish I would have kept it as a DNF officially, not just finishing it. I gave it 2 stars. The first part of the book was amazing. And see, what happened was I started this book. I got like 50 or 60 pages in, and I was really enjoying the atmosphere and the build up and everything, but I was hearing terrible reviews about it, so I stopped reading it. Then I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm finally going to finish it months later, and I finish it, and I really wish I hadn't. Then there's Hench by Natalie Zena Walcott. This is like a villain backstory. I found it kind of boring, so I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but eh. And by this time I was slumping, so I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which is one of my comfort reads. I've read it 5 times, and that's the 5th time. And of course I gave it 5 stars, so it's like hate to love, fake honeymoon, very slow burn, and so cute, and I just love it. Then there's The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armez. I didn't like this one. I heard it pitched as The Hating Game meets The Unhoneymooners, and that sounds amazing. Although I've never read The Hating Game, but anything that's compared to The Unhoneymooners, like, that's one of my favorite romances ever. I did not like this one. I gave it 2 stars. It's like this woman, I can't even remember her name. Well, she's going to Spain for a family member's wedding, and she needs to find a fake date because she told her family that she has a boyfriend. She doesn't, because she's a liar, and then she gets the guy that she hates to go with her and pretend to be her really serious boyfriend, and I just didn't buy their love story, and I didn't care about either character. Oh my gosh. Then I read, okay, here's a couple of just really lousy thrillers that I read. I'm not even going to give you a synopsis for them. I just didn't like them. So there's The Night in Question by Nick Joseph and The Lion Game by Ruth Ware.
This book is about this woman that texts her best friend to come and pretend that they're more than friends at her childhood house, and then he sends the evil twin who she absolutely despises, but you know, it's a romance, so it's hate to love and all that kind of stuff.
Then my husband picked Prom Nights from Hell for me to read, which was just like 4 or 5 short prom night stories, like nightmare stories. I gave it 2 stars. I'm just not feeling young adult anymore, and I think that's what it came down to. Then I read The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lupina, which is a book that I've previously DNF'd. I wish I would have kept it as a DNF. It's about this couple who leave their baby in their apartment while they go next door to a party and drink, and when they go home at 12:30 or 1 a.m., the baby is gone. All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. The thing is that I've read a few Megan Miranda books, and they all are very, very fun, small town mystery. I would say more mystery than thriller, but I think they are labeled as thrillers. So go into that if you read a lot of thrillers. It's more of a like slow burn mystery. I don't even remember exactly what happens in this one in particular, because I've read them all kind of semi-recently, and they're all kind of the same. I have fun with them, and I recommend trying her books, but maybe get them from the library, because I don't know. They're fun, but again, not life-changing. Then I completely read this book at the wrong time. So I read this book when my grandma was sick, before she passed away, and I think I finished it like the week that she passed away, and that is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. If you haven't read this book, don't. I mean, I'm just kidding. It kind of gave me a Monster Calls vibes by Patrick Ness. But essentially you follow this little girl, I think she's 5, and her grandma is sick. And her grandma passes away, but before she passes away, she tells Elsie, is her name Elsie? I feel like it's Elsie. She tells the little girl, her granddaughter, she tells her, please make amends with the people that I've wronged. Please go tell, she gives her these instructions, and she's like, go tell them that I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. And that basically is the start of this book that is filled with grief and sadness, and it was a really good book. It was helpful, but it was also really, really hard to read, especially at that time. So I do think it was a good book. I think I gave it 3 stars. I did give it 3 stars. Then I read I'll Be the One by Lila Lee, which is a young adult K-pop drama romance? Not really a romance, more of a coming of age novel. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. So it's about this girl who is auditioning for this new K-pop competition show where there's singers, there's dancers, and then there's the group that does both. She does both, but her family basically says because she's overweight that they don't support her and that they don't think that she's gonna make it. And that was just really sad for me to read about her, but it was ultimately very body positive, and I did enjoy it. I'm just kind of out of the young adult realm. I don't really, there are exceptions to every rule. Like, I still have some young adult novels on my TBR, and I understand that, but generally speaking, I'm not really vibing with young adult anymore. 2 more thrillers that I did not like. So there's Afterward by Jennifer Matthewy and Her Pretty Face by Robin Harding. Then I read Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey, which is this super cute romance. Basically follows this woman who has almost given up on herself, and she starts writing to this like puppeteer guy. It kind of reminded me of like Blue's Clues, only he's a doctor and he has like a puppet show for kids to make them feel good, and he answers kids' questions when they write to him. So she starts corresponding with him even though she's a grown-up, and they start like corresponding in letters, and then somehow they meet in real life, and it was cute. I gave it 3 stars. Like, again, probably something I'm never gonna think about again, but yeah, it was cute. Then I read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second time I've read The Hobbit, but I was gonna start reading the Lord of the Rings series, which I officially DNF'd. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't love it. I think the only reason I liked The Hobbit the first time was because it was during school, and I had a really amazing group, and we did our work, but we also kind of like hung out and partied, and well, not like partied, but we just had a lot of fun together, and I think that's why I enjoyed it back in high school, not so much now. Then I read, now I have 3 romances that I gave 5 stars to. So there's Beach Read by Emily Henry, which by the way is not just a fluffy little romance. There's a lot of hard stuff that happens in that book, and if you want to sob, read Beach Read. I know with a title like Beach Read, it doesn't sound like it's something hard hitting, but it might break you. It broke me. Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Shamrock was also 5 stars. This like follows this Indian girl whose parents want to set her up on like an arranged marriage, and she's like, I don't want to do. Her dad wants to. Her mom passed away when she was younger, and she's like, I want real love. And she's like, okay, well, I'm selling the house. And I guess she kind of makes a deal like, well, if I get married, can I keep the house? And that kind of comes up, and she's like, but I'm not getting married like an arranged marriage. I'm gonna do real love, and that's the only way I'm getting married. And so it was just very empowering to see her, and it was so cute. And I just loved her romance with Dr. Dill, because at first they really don't like each other, and I am a sucker for a good hate to love romance. So then Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren honestly gave me People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry vibes, but Love in Other Words is better, because I didn't like People We Meet on Vacation, but I can see how like they can be compared. But the stronger of the two is Love in Other Words. Then I read 14 Ways to Die by Vincent Ralph. This is a young adult horror novel, kinda. I mean, thriller, horror novel, something. But basically, there's this new competition show on a streaming service like YouTube. But they can't call it YouTube because, you know, things. Because, yeah. And basically each week you follow a different contestant for each day you follow a different contestant for one day of their life. And it's interesting. Like, one of the contestants was a serial killer survivor, or her family was killed by a serial killer, and now she's trying to get that serial killer to come after her so that they can finally put him away. And it was an interesting take. I don't think it was done very good. I only gave it 2 stars, but the synopsis sounded really good. It just didn't quite live up to it for me. Then I read The Royals Next Door by Katrina Hale. This was so cute. This is like the Royals moved into her neighbor's house and basically become her neighbor, and then she falls in love with the bodyguard, and the bodyguard is kind of awkward and weird at first and very protective because, you know, he's a bodyguard. But it was so cute. It was so sweet. Then I read Playing with Matches by Hannah Ornstein. I didn't like this romance. It doesn't end how most romances should. Like, I guess maybe I'm the unpopular opinion here, but I go into romances thinking, oh, okay, I already know how the story ends, because, like, romance, you know? Like, they're gonna get married, they're gonna fall in love. Yeah. That's why I didn't like this one, because I didn't see the ending coming in, and I know that might sound weird, because the thing is that when I read thrillers, I don't want to know the end. I want to be surprised and shocked. But I go to romance for, like, the comfort of knowing what's going to happen and just enjoying the ride a little bit. Then I read Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. I think I'm just done with small town witchy romances. I did not like this one. I didn't like the X-Hex when I read it either, and this one was worse, which is weird. Yeah, I just don't think those are my vibe. That's okay. Then there's After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the second book I've read by her, and it's basically about this married couple is their name Patrick and Sarah? No, it's not Patrick and Sarah. I don't remember their names. I'm terrible at names. I'm so sorry. But this married couple has been married for a few years, and they're basically like, yeah, we're married, but they're kind of in a rut, you know, and they decide to take a year off of marriage. So on paper, they're going to stay married. But the deal is that they can't contact each other for a whole year. Regardless of what happens in, like, the family life or anything like that, they can't talk at all for one whole year. And it's either going to be, after that year, they're going to be okay without each other and they're going to want a divorce, or they're going to see how miserable it was without each other and they're going to be like, we got to make this work, we got to figure it out. This was such an emotional book. Like, I sobbed buckets, and the worst part was that I read it during a road trip with my husband. So he's sitting there, he's like sleeping. And I find it very hard to sleep during road trips. I don't know. I want to say, I don't know. I just don't sleep as much when I'm on the road. And he's in there sleeping, and I try to let him sleep because he drives, and I'm usually just like the GPS and the music person, the DJ and the GPS. You know, it works. But he's sleeping and I'm sitting there like sobbing buckets, and I'm like, I gotta be quiet, I don't want to wake him up. And I'm like holding my mouth as tears are going down. And yeah, so that was really fun. So if you want to sob buckets, like, I mean buckets, read After I Do or One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have more of her books, spoiler alert, to read. I want to read them all. Then, you know what I'm realizing now that we're doing all these books at once is that this year has not been my year for thrillers, because I read another 1-star thriller, and this is Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. Then I read a romance, and I gave it 4 stars, and that is Falling for Your Boss by Emma St. Clair. Oh, okay, so this one I really, really enjoyed. This one was an ebook, and I would love to own this book, to be honest with you. So, I'm a little scared to read, like, the forbidden romances, like the boss and employee type romances, because I didn't think that I would like them, but in this case, it was perfect. So, you follow this girl who is just like, oh, I hate my boss, I'm gonna quit. And, like, she is supposed to quit her job, but she doesn't. And then he asks her, hey, will you come home with me? Will you, pretend to be my girlfriend? And she's like, that's a little awkward. I'm your employee. I can't really say no. And then he's like, no, you can. It's up to you. So she goes, but she kind of feels weird about it. And then, there's a child. Okay, let me back up. So she goes to him after a night out. He is really, really sick. And she goes over to help take care of him because she kind of likes him. And while she's there taking care of him, this other woman drops off this kid, like this 8-year-old kid, and says, oh yeah, that's his daughter. And she's just like, whoa, he didn't tell me he had a kid. And the other woman's like, oh, well, he doesn't know. So it's kind of like her job. I mean, not really, but now she kind of feels responsible, and she's like, okay, well, he's passed out, he's really sick, I have to take care of this kid, plus I kind of have to tell him that that's his kid now, and then the whole thing about, oh, will you come home with me so that we can take care of her, as in his kid, and, you know, we'll just tell them that we're friends, because that's all that we are, and then, you know, like a slow burn, like, romance, and it was like nothing I've ever read before, but I really enjoyed it. I finally read Hostage by Robert Cross. I gave it 3 stars. It's probably more like a 2-star. I like the movie better. Just watch the movie. Then I read The Party by Robin Harding. I didn't like that one either. But it's about like this 16-year-old girl who's having a party and then one of her friends gets murdered. And it sounds really good on paper, but it just didn't work for me. Then I read The Happily Ever After playlist by Abby Hemensy. Absolutely love everything Abby Hemensy has ever wrote. 5 out of 5 stars for all of her books. Book Lovers by Emily Henry was 4 stars. It reads very similar to like Beach Read, but Beach Read was the stronger of the two. Heartbreak for Hire by Sonia Hartle. You follow this woman who basically works for this company whose job it is to break your heart. So, like, if I wanted a divorce, I would contact someone and be like, hey, tell him I want a divorce, and then they'd come do it. They do the dirty work for me. Or, you know, if you just want to humiliate your boss or whatever, then there are people that will do that for you. And it was really cute because it starts off with her humiliating a boss, and then that guy ends up working at the same company that she works at this like heartbreak place, and they fall in love. Then I read The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. It was very, very predictable, but I had a good time, so I did give it 5 stars. I didn't rate Jane Eyre, but I read it. I thought it was boring. I probably wouldn't rate it very high, like 2 stars maybe. But I don't like classics, so please don't come at me. Please don't. Okay, then I read Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This was a legal thriller that a couple years back was really, really popular, and I was really, really scared because of the hype on this. I'm telling you, the hype on this one is real. I didn't know what to believe. I didn't know who was guilty. I didn't know who was innocent, if anyone was innocent. And I could not believe. Okay, so you follow, like, this medical center that's kind of shaped like a submarine that's in the middle of the woods. And they do these clinical trials on kids with autism. So if they go into this treatment center for 1 hour a week, it's supposed to help their autism so that they don't have any symptoms of autism anymore. And you have so many layers to the story because there's the people that are against the company. They're like, well, my kid was born with autism. That means that you're killing what my child is supposed to be by taking away the autism. And then you have all these other layers because you're already at this legal case. You're already there. And I did find it a little bit repetitive because as each person went up, you got the same story, you know, just differing points of view at different times, but generally it was the same story. However, it worked with this book because I thought all of them were guilty. I thought everyone was guilty. So there was like the money aspect, the insurance aspect, plus the fact that the fire was started when people weren't supposed to be there, but because they were running late, there were people in there. You know, the person who started the fire maybe didn't know that, or maybe they did and they were trying to kill people. But this book had me so convinced that the mom, Henry's mom, tried to kill him and just decided that, oh well, if everything goes up in flames, that's okay, as long as he dies. And I'm not gonna tell you what happened, but oh my gosh, this thriller, edge of my seat, loved it. And then the ending just like blew my mind, did not see it coming. Then I read Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's about missing girls. It's a young adult thriller. It was really good. You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. An amazing romance. Again, this one kind of deals with an already established couple. So they're engaged. They're planning their wedding, but they don't hate each other, but they do hate each other. So, like, they're fighting all the time. They don't get along anymore, and both of them want to end things, but she doesn't want to end things because then she'll have to pay all the money that his family paid for the wedding. Okay, like the parents paid for the wedding. So neither of them want to be the one that ends the upcoming wedding because they don't want to have to pay the parents of both of the couple. You know, like, if I did it, I would have to pay my family back. And if he called it off, he would have to pay his family back. And they don't want to do that. So they're just like in this intense hatred of a relationship. And it's so cute. I know I keep saying so cute, but it's so sweet. And it's so slow burn. And you start to realize why they fell in love in the first place, and I just adored it. Then I read The Damage by Caitlin Weir. So this trigger warnings for like sexual assault. This follows this guy named Nick who was the victim of a sexual assault. And you follow his brother Tony, the detective, and Julia, I think, Tony's wife. I think her name is Julia. You follow all of them, but you don't get... I really liked the chapters that had Nick because it was telling me what actually was going on. But you get everyone else's perspective. You get Tony's perspective, who is really mad that someone would do that to his brother, and like, I get that mad and I get that rage, I do, and everything, I get all their perspectives and they all make sense logically, but I wanted to see more from Nick, and I felt very disconnected to the story, so I only gave it 1 star. Then I read Three Little Words by Ashley Rhodes Corder, which is a nonfiction memoir about this girl named Ashley Rhodes Corder who grew up in 11 different foster cares. And I actually told my husband about it. Like, he doesn't read a lot, so I don't really talk to him about the books I read all that often, only when they really, like, suck me in. But I was just like, oh my god, this book is really tearing me up because it's nonfiction, so it's true. And it's just some of the things that these kids go through, and none of it is their fault. And this one just like broke me. And if I rated nonfiction, this would be like a 10 out of 5 stars. Okay, fine, a 5 out of 5. But absolutely loved it. I'm going to keep it. And I don't keep a lot of nonfiction after I read it. Usually I read it and then I unhaul my nonfiction. But it's the second nonfiction book that I've kept after I've read it. That says something. Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. And this has shot up to one of my favorite romances. So originally going into it, I thought that Mr. Wrong Number was about this guy that sends a suggestive text to wrong number, and they start talking, and that is part of it. But when you realize who the actual wrong number is, like, don't read the back of that book because it'll give it away. But when you find out who the actual wrong number is, it's kind of forbidden. And I think that might be why I liked it. It was unexpected. And I loved it. We only have 2 books left, so I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love Riley Sager's writing. But this book was pure trash. It was torture reading this book. I only finished it because I was buddy reading it with Heather from Bell's Library. Like, if we were not buddy reading it, I would have DNF'd it. Which says a lot, because when someone asks me who my favorite author is, it's either Riley Sager, Natalie D. Richards. I mean, those are like my top 2. Those are the 2 that come to my mind right away. And I guess Abby Hemensy. But typically I think thrillers before romance, not always. Clearly this year has not been my year for thrillers. But if you want every cliche in a thriller novel, read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I thought it was an info dump of cliches. And I didn't like the main character, and usually that is what gets me through his books, is his dark atmospheric writing, and his main characters are like top tier for me. I hated this book with a passion. And then today I finished The Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The only problem for me was that I felt like the two timelines were a little bit disjointed for me. One was a lot stronger than the other one, and I wanted to know more about Paris over what was going on with Joey. I do like how they came together in the end and how they connected. I really, really enjoyed that. But I feel like it kind of took a little bit too long to get there, and that the writing styles just didn't quite add up perfectly for me. So that's why I gave it 4 stars, but I still highly recommend it. So you follow this woman named Paris, who is found in the bathroom, covered in her husband's blood. And her husband's dead body is in the bathtub behind her. But she claims that she didn't murder her husband. And that's all I can tell you. But please read it, because it was so good. Like, ooh. Oh, I think I read it in 3 days. 2 days. I don't know. I read it really quick, but I really, really enjoyed it. And it's my first Jennifer Hillier. So now I have to read the rest of my Jennifer Hillier books. I have 2 more. Anyways, that is my wrap up for the past 4 months. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. Bye.